gold-cut sapphires set in sterling silver. I hate sarcasm, unless I initiate it. I'd learned not to say sorry to Miss Van Alst, as it conveyed weakness, and was sure to breed contempt on her part. Life was complicated enough without that. I worked for a wealthy woman who couldn't care less that she was despised by most people. She despised them, too. Rare books and first editions, that's what mattered to Vera. I kept my sorry to myself. Just thinking about your missing Dorothy L. Sayers first editions, I said. That was the truth, but nowhere near the whole truth.
Oh, yes. You mean the biggest disaster that has ever befallen my collection. The disaster that coincides with your arrival in my employ, Miss Bingham. I would hope you'd be concentrating on that during your every waking hour. That's what I pay you for, and I pay you well to get what I want. I want those books back.
She kept tugging and straightening the cuffs of her tattered cardigan. Clearly, the loss of a chunk of her collection weighed heavily on her. This might be a good time to mention that what Vera wants, Vera gets. And when Vera wants something, she wants it the way she wants it, and she wants it yesterday. Unfortunately for me, things weren't working out quite that way. Vera was deliberately ignoring my role in solving a murder and stopping the total plunder of her collection. She seemed to blame me for the theft of her Dorothy L. Sayers' very fine firsts. This was unfair, even for Vera, and under normal circumstances, I would have set her straight. Maybe I was mellowed by thoughts of Lord Peter, or lunch, or generally how much I liked my life. I found Vera's collection of rare books irresistibly appealing. I adored the endless corridors of historic Van Alst House and the cozy attic accommodations that came with my position. The food was to die for. It was looking good for me to be the first person in my family to go straight. That was my plan, and I was sticking to it. Really, Vera was the only fly in the ointment. Too bad the fly controlled the checkbook and owned the ointment. A bit of thought before action usually pays off, I said. I didn't mention where fantasizing fit into the equation.
Where are you with the so-called thought and action in that case?
I know you're anxious to get the Sayers books back.
Miss Bingham, I do not get anxious.
No, but you're a carrier, I thought. She pointed a bony finger at me.
Perhaps you meant to say eager, as that is correct usage. If your education is as you insist, I shouldn't have to remind you of that.
I did know the correct use of anxious and eager. Vera can make people, even me, experience anxiety, although with my relatives you'd think I'd be immune. She rattled on.
That is a valuable and irreplaceable collection. I must have the books that were stolen from me. That is your job. And at your salary and benefits, you should be more than eager.
I smoothed my silky vintage Pucci print scarf against my collarbone, took in a deep cleansing breath, and let that go. The books will be located. Count on it. I didn't mention that the missing first editions were hardly a matter of life or death. I'd found out the hard way that there were dangers in dealing with Vera's rare book collection. Vera hadn't been the only danger by a long shot.
You have them in your sights.
There was that obsessive gleam in her eye. She paid no attention to the blue point Siamese that leapt onto the table and was making its haughty way toward her. There was an identical one under the table at my end, too. I was taking no chances, and as usual wore a pair of boots to prevent new scars. Vera reached out absent-mindedly and stroked the cat.
I repeat, do you have them in your sights, Miss Bingham?